Hello, and welcome to a Let's Play of Mage the Ascension Refuge. I'm Qualification, and this game is basically a visual novel as I understand it. I have not actually played it yet myself. By the way, it's set in the World of Darkness, specifically the old World of Darkness, although now it's been restylized as the One World of Darkness. And basically the idea behind Mage the Ascension is that the player characters have awakened to magic. They are essentially sort of superhuman and capable of changing reality with their willpower. Now, I'm not exactly sure what this game's about, except that apparently it's set in, like, Sweden and involves the politics of immigration and refugees, so that ought to be fun. Apparently it's also very sort of on the, I guess you could say, liberal side of the political fence. I'm going to I think probably read through the text in the game. I don't think it's voiced, so this is more or less intended for you to be able to open this up in one window and listen to the game, as it is just a visual novel, except I don't believe there are visuals aside from the sort of, little mundane background scene that you see here. So let's go ahead and get started with a new game. Day 1, Thursday. The week the world goes mad starts quietly. You bike to Nordic Aid through cold rain. November has come with a vengeance, cloaking Malmo in wet gloom. You haven't seen the sun in a week. Daylight, when it comes, is faint and hesitant. The rain seems to always come at you horizontally. Whichever direction you head in, you're always biking into the wind. Today is no exception. Your shift at the bookshop wasn't very long, but your feet and knees already hurt. They complain at the idea of spending 4 more hours running back and forth at Nordic Aid, but you shush them. What you're doing is important, even if your feet aren't looking forward to the work. You are. Nordic Aid lies right at the edge of the old industrial area. Its 2 stories flooded with light. The street outside is crammed with people now. As you come up to the building, 2 cars are unloading passengers and their luggage. The new arrivals stare up at the building. They've come across the Öresund Bridge from Denmark to Sweden to stand at Malmö Central Station, exhausted and bewildered. They've been met not by government officials, but by civilians who have offered them food and shelter. Oh man, I can already tell that I'm gonna like the way this game goes. The governmental machinery is paralyzed in the face of the influx of refugees from Syria and Afghanistan during the autumn. The civilian society is picking up the slack. Cultural centers like Nordic Aid have turned themselves into temporary shelters. People leave work early to take care of exhausted travelers at the central station or drive them to mosques, churches, and shelters. Or, like you, volunteer to cook, clean, and care for the new arrivals. The shelter is buzzing with quiet activity. People are everywhere, sitting and standing around. They all look rumpled and bone-tired. Most of them are boys and men, but there are women and families among them too. The children are quiet, watchful. Volunteers move among the newcomers, handing out small bags of toiletries and other necessities, blankets, cups of hot tea. You register at the front desk and get your volunteer badge. You move on to the kitchen on the ground floor. It's a small kitchen, not at all designed to cope with the 200 to 250 people who pass through each night. But so far you have managed. Soups and stews go a long way. You're met by Nilo, or Nilo maybe, and Magdalena, I think I'm going to go with Nilo on the pronunciation for that guy, who are just finishing up the dishes from lunch. You're the first one from the evening shift, Nilo says. I'm sure the others will be along any minute. You'll need to cook for about 200 people today, Magdalena says. We're almost full. You make a quick mental calculation. That means about 3 big pots of stew. Doable if you had more people. I need more people, you say. I'll see what I can do, the manager says. You finally get one more volunteer, a newbie rustled up from cleaning duty. Mikhail is maybe 20 years old, on all deer in headlights. You take him down to the basement and rummage around in the shelves of donated food. You have more or less an hour to feed 200 people. And we've got our first choice in this visual novel here. We've got 3 options. It's cool, you can be fast and efficient when you need to be. It's alright, things usually come together when you need it. It's fine, you have exceptional leadership skills. So this is probably going to determine some of the attributes of our main character here. Well, that's being generous to this game, I suppose, in some sense. But I think the option I'm going to go for here is it's cool, you can be fast and efficient when you need to be. You decide not to look at the clock, because that would stress you out even more. Then you fall into the familiar motions of making food for an enormous amount of people. Mikhail is fumbly, but does what he's told. You give him a knife and a pile of vegetables, and he slowly but surely chops his way through all of it. You put a lentil soup with coconut milk together, and 1 chickpea curry, and even whip up a pasta salad with black beans. Each dish should feed about 80 people. You snap out of it when someone knocks on the door jamb. "Julia," the shift manager says, then pauses. "Wow, I honestly didn't think you'd make it." You look around. The kitchen looks like a bomb went off, but you've got the food all ready to go. You look at the clock, then check the one on your mobile phone. It can't be right. According to both of them, only an hour has passed. The prepping alone should have taken an hour. So, for those of you who weren't watching, there was earlier a visual effect when I chose that one dialogue option. I think that's probably representative of some, supernatural potency that's been granted to us by awakening. Also, I guess it seems to imply that our character's name is Julia here, but I'm not sure yet. Continuing. You look at the kitchen counter and the empty bag of chickpeas. Chickpeas alone take more than an hour to cook. What the hell happened? The others don't seem to take much note. Mikhail looks dead on his feet. Oh well, the food is ready. You mentally pat yourself on the back and help the others transfer it into smaller pots for serving. You come home exhausted. You kick off your shoes and drop your wet raincoat onto the floor, then sit down to call Alex. We have another dialogue option here, but there's only one choice. It's go home. "How are you, sweetie?" Alex's voice is comforting in your ear. "I'm wasted. It was a long day at Nordic Aid." It takes you a moment to mentally switch from Swedish to English. Dating an American has completely screwed up the English you learned in school. These days you're somewhere half between Oxford and San Diego, with a dash of ABBA. "I'm still at the maker space," Alex replies. "I'm teaching the kids to make circuit boards." Another of Alex's side projects. Not only does he fiddle with his own stuff at the makerspace, he also leads an effort to make girls more interested in tech. I will say, so far, the game's punctuation, also in general kind of syntax and grammar, seems to be lacking in proofreading, to me at least. "How are things over there?" Alex asks. There's 2 options here. It's rough, or it's hopeful. I think it's pretty obvious that it's rough, so I'm going to select that option. You tell Alex about the evening at the shelter, the oppressive atmosphere, the palpable despair, the 2 quiet children, the women's huge frightened eyes, the despondent men gathered around donated shishas. "I'm so sorry," Alex says. "I don't know how you do it." "I have to," you say. "I just wish it wasn't so hard. I just wish it would get better soon." "Well," Alex says, "we don't know. All we know is that things change." Ever the pragmatist, Alex. We have another dialogue option here. Now we can say, "For the better, I hope," or "Sometimes it doesn't feel like that." Things change. Sometimes it doesn't feel like that. Some musical cues. I can't tell if this is in response to the dialogue choices I'm making, or if it's just the ambient background music, but anyway, "It really doesn't feel like it," you say. "Well," Alex says, "still, you're brave to try." Your phone chirps at 7. You stay in bed for a moment, checking Facebook, Instagram, and your email. You have 1 new email. "Last night at Nordic Aid" has 1 unmoderated comment. You have no memory of writing an entry with that name. You check your blog. The entry was written at 2 a.m. You were asleep at 2 a.m. There was a strange visual effect there, for those of you that are listening. I'm guessing this is the comment on Facebook or something. It says, My Horrible Thursday, 2015, November 12th. Close quarters. The smell of fatigue and fear of sore feet and tears of rough cigarette smoke. Tears, perhaps, then? They sit in rows along the benches, crowd around the canteen. Their eyes are drained to pools. Feet ruined from walking so long, they are laden with blisters and sores. She needs a new dress. She had to stuff her panties with rags and old newspaper. He clutches a soiled teddy bear. She had a baby on the way and it won't latch properly. His wife fell from the boat and drowned his daughter. Sits on his lap quietly, watching with flat eyes. There's no punctuation in this section, by the way. Oh boy. He watched his father be torn apart by a barrel bomb. She was raped on the way. He left his wife and children in the refugee camps. He hid in the wheelhouse under a truck. He was shot by border guards, and the wound is festering. And she, and he, and he, and he... 200, and tomorrow 200 more, a line stretching toward the horizon. All ye who enter here. And we have another option here, which is just a dialogue option to continue. This is day 2, Friday. You arrive at the bookshop, exhausted. At least it's not your turn to get it ready for opening. All you have to do is show up at 9:45. Ojana is already there, counting out notes in the cash register. Her blue dreadlocks sway in time to the industrial metal she insists on listening to before the shop opens, and you have to switch to something more mellow. She nods at you as you slip under the half-open grate and come inside. You look terrible, she says. I love you too, you reply. Bojana grins and closes the cash register with a bang, all ready to go. And so the workday passes. You put price tags on new arrivals and sort them into the shelves. You put back books left in random places by distracted customers. You pick up trash and weird things that customers for some reason put in the shelves, although it's not nearly as bad as the first time you found a rolled up used diaper in the dictionary section. After that, everything else was trivial, even the half-eaten hot dogs and used tissues. You check out wares and reply to questions. Excuse me, someone says. It's a middle-aged man in an oil slicker and raindrops on his glasses. Can I help you? You ask. I was wondering if you have the Foundation series by Asimov. You think. Sci-fi, right? The man sighs. Sci-fi is film. Literature is SF, or science fiction. Right. You mentally roll your eyes and check the database. Sorry, no Asimov. Are you saying you don't carry the classics? Uh-oh, he's a lecturer. I guess you only carry new stuff, or whatever is politically correct at the moment. We have 2 dialogue options here. It doesn't sell anymore, sir. Sorry, or we're ultra PC here. Okay, so this guy... I mean, it is strange, frankly, I think. If this bookstore actually doesn't carry the Foundation series by Asimov, that's not like a really obscure thing. It's a pretty big staple of the science fiction genre, but... We're ultra PC here. This one can talk. This is a quote that begins in the middle of the sentence, I'm guessing. The so-called New Wave completely destroyed all the hard work laid down by Asimov and Clarke. Since when was science fiction about sex, or race, or gay rights? It's called science fiction. Oh, man. Okay, our 2 options here are piss off, old man, or yes, yes, ... So we can either, you know, passively, aggressively dismiss him, or we can just directly, aggressively make him angry. I mean, personally, I completely agree with him. I think that he's absolutely... His point is very salient, but I'm sure this game will be making the opposite point many, many times. So, we'll say, we'll antagonize him. Piss off, old man. Go away, you tell him before you can stop yourself. What? He says. Go away, you repeat. You're being an asshole. I have no patience with people like you. He leans over the register. Who the hell do you think you are, girl? So we are definitely Julia, a girl. His breath smells of stale cigarettes. You stare at him. I'm an employee here and you're being an obnoxious asshat. I'm not paid to listen to your bullshit. I want to speak to your supervisor, now. The man looks over your shoulder. You. Are you the store manager? He yells. Excuse me? Bojana says somewhere behind you. Are you the store manager? He repeats. This girl here just called me an asshat. Bojana comes up next to you. I'm so sorry, sir, she says. Julia, what's going on? You press your lips together. She just attacked me, the man says. I was making conversation, and she just attacked me. That's actually true. We did do that. But, I'm terribly sorry, sir, Bojana says. I'm going to be in touch with your boss, he says. Just watch me. He stalks out of the store. Bojana turns to you. What was that, Julia? You shrug. I'm sorry. He was being an asshole. I just couldn't take it any longer. I totally get that. I really do. But you're going to have to be a bit smoother than that. She looks at the entrance. Let's hope he doesn't get in touch with Eric, shall we? Yeah, you say. Bojana pats your shoulder. Lunch break soon. She goes back to where she's been shelving books. Okay, so I'm guessing this is where we can invoke some magic, because we have two options here. Great, back to work then, or, if only you could rewind that moment somehow. I'm gonna do the rewind that moment option, and we got a visual effect there. You pick up your phone and look at the time, 11:36. Rewind, 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 you whisper and touch the clock face, rewind, rewind. Excuse me, someone says. Asshat customer is back. He doesn't look angry at all. In fact, has a pleasant smile on his lips. Yes, you say. I was wondering if you had the Foundation series by Asimov. You're dumbfounded. That's what he had asked for in the first place. The Foundation series, he says, slowly. I guess you're not familiar with Asimov? This one can talk, and then he repeats his dialogue about the new wave and whatnot. Well, I feel like it's possible we could end up in an infinite loop situation here. There are some things I know about the setting of Mage, which make me inclined to not think that that should be possible, but we'll go with the second option this time. Yes, yes. Will not cause problems for him. You retreat to your happy place as he drones on about how women, gays, and people of color are ruining the fun for everyone. And that's all there is to say about that, he finishes. Are you done? You ask. He blinks. Yes. Good. Is there anything else I can help you with today? You smile sweetly. No, thank you. The man nods at you and leaves. You scream into the Moomin plushie next to the cash register. Great. Back to work then. It's your turn at the free shop today, which is less stressful than the kitchen. Working in the free shop consists of helping people pick out clothes and other necessities for themselves and their children. You'll also have to sort the steady stream of donations. Most of the donated clothes and shoes are wearable, but some of it seems to be stuff that the owner just wanted to get rid of. Moth-eaten sweaters, ruined shoes, ripped trousers. It is beyond you why people would donate things not fit for use, and why people would donate clothes without washing them first. The smell of other people's body hair lingers like a faint miasma. Ahmed is in the free shop with you today. He's 25 and studies to be a nurse, but has put his studies on hold to help out at Nordic Aid. He's also an excellent interpreter. Ahmed helps you pick out baby clothes for a young mother. Through him, she tells you that her baby was only 1 month old when Daesh, which if you're not familiar, that's another name for ISIS, invaded their hometown and they had to flee. 1 month. You think about friends with babies and how they complain about sleepless nights and mastitis and crying. Then you think about having to deal with that on the road. The mother looks to be about your age, with dark circles under her eyes. We have another choice here between two things. There, but for the grace of God, go I, or thank God it's not me. Thank God it's not me. The woman's eyes linger in your mind as you go about the rest of the afternoon. Rain lashes against the window, darkness falls. You hand out clothes and toiletries. Someone comes in with more donated clothing. Ahmed hands you a cup of Iraqi tea strong enough to curl your tongue. You have your back turned, but you can feel their presence before you turn around. A man and a woman in their mid-20s, dressed in black, stand in the doorway, so alike that they can only be siblings, short and wiry, with aquiline noses and startling green eyes. He's clean-shaven, with close-cropped hair. She wears a bright pink hijab with embroidery along the edges. They're both watching you intently. You stare at each other for a long moment. "Good afternoon," the man says in English. "Hi," you reply. "Hello," says the woman. Silence falls again. You hear Ahmed talking to someone at the other end of the shop. "My name is Nizar," the man says. "This is my sister, Muna." Muna nods at you. "Julia," you say. "Pleased to meet you." "Do you remember us?" Nizar says. They do seem familiar somehow. "Did we meet here?" "Not here," Muna says. "Elsewhere." You shake your head. The siblings exchange glances. Nizar shrugs faintly. "Could you please help me find a new pair of jeans?" Muna says. "Sure." You show Muna to the ladies section while Nizar walks over to talk to Ahmed. You try to gauge Muna's size and go through the pile of denim. Almost everything is too big, but by some miracle you find a pair of black skinny jeans at the bottom of the pile. "Are you sure you don't remember us?" Muna asks when she comes out of the makeshift fitting room. We could either lie to her here, saying sure, or we could say I'm sorry. I'm gonna say I'm sorry. I don't have any reason to lie to her. Muna looks at you, and it's like she sees right through you. "It doesn't matter. We remember you," she says. "But from where?" "From before," Muna replies. It looks like she's about to say something more, but stops herself. Then she says, "I'll see you later." She goes to join her brother, who is hunched over the laptop with Ahmed. When they've left, Ahmed comes over. "They wanted to know if there are any raves happening. I signed them up for tonight." "Rave? Really? They just got here and they want to party?" Ahmed shrugs. "I get it. When I first got here, I went to a football game the next day. I just wanted to feel normal." "Fair enough. Did you get the location yet?" "Nora Grange's," Ahmed replies. See you there?" "Of course." When your shift ends, it's 9 p.m. and you're practically dead on your feet, but you really want to go to the petting zoo. That's, for those of you listening in, a proper noun, so presumably some kind of, restaurant or bar or something like that. You go home for a quick dinner and some downtime, then take off. You bike into the industrial area and down the dimly lit Nora Grange's, past falafel shops and obscure clubhouses, and the long row of car washes that probably don't wash a lot of cars. This is where you get your smuggled German alcohol and cigarettes, your drugs, maybe even guns. And this is where you don't walk at night, especially if you're a woman. So you bike fast until you see the anonymous-looking door you were looking for. You show your electronic ticket to the burly guy at the door, then step inside. At some places you can just walk in, but the petting zoo is meticulous about making you register in advance. That way, when the cops show up, you can show them that this is a private party and not an illegal club, no sir. Not a very big space, just a room maybe 30 meters across and a couple of alcoves off the side. It's dark and almost unbearably hot in here, crowded with all kinds of people. Hipsters in bright hair and monochrome clothing, middle-aged ravers, expensive-looking suburban kids and their tougher counterparts from the projects. By rights, there should be some friction, but there isn't. The atmosphere is relaxed, laid back. You're all here to dance. The makeshift bar sells beer and balloons full of laughing gas. Wow, okay. So we could choose two options here. Beer, please, or beer and a couple of balloons, please. So I guess you can just... Is that some kind of drug thing? I don't know. We'll go with just the beer, though. You get a couple of cheap beers from the bar. You open one and put the other one in your hoodie pocket. You don't see Ahmed or anyone else you know. That's fine. Right now, you just don't want to, or you just want to feel the music pulse through you. The tension and fatigue from today's work dissolves into a soft buzz. You spot Ricky, Alex's friend from the makerspace. She's dancing with a beer can in one hand. Even in this eclectic crowd, she looks a little out of place, her black outfit a little too dapper, her blonde bob a little too well-styled. She waves at you with the can and smiles. Someone taps your shoulder. It's one of the siblings from the shelter. Nizar, right? He smiles at you and waves. You offer him your extra beer. He grins and shakes his head. You mentally slap your forehead. Of course not. Is your sister here too? You shout over the music. He nods and points into a sea of dancers where Muna is nodding along to the beat, her pink hijab luminescent in the strobe light. So we have two options here. You join them, or you're here to dance, not socialize. I don't really want anything to do with Muna or Nizar, I don't think, so I'm just going to say you're here to dance, not socialize. You nod, but you're here to dance and focus on the music, not talk. You knock the rest of your beer back and make your way onto the center of the dance floor, into the thickest part of the crowd. The beat, which has so far circled in a soft treble beat, suddenly crashes down into a heavy bass rhythm. You let yourself go. The crowd moves as one to the beat, rippling in waves, 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2, like a single organism. Arms sway, hands wave, heads nod in the flickering light from above. The smoke machine starts up, laser spears shoot through the fog. A second rhythm joins the first in a fluttery syncope, I'm not really sure how to pronounce that, on top of the bass. A clear voice cuts through the notes, wailing a song that makes your eyes sting and throat constrict. It drags you along, pulls you up by the roots. You are all one in here, one mind under the music, moving together. The walls fall away. You are connected to everything, to everyone. You suddenly understand how it all works. Everything is one. This place is just one of 100 other places where people are dancing, all of you to a divine beat, all of you a divine dancing crowd. And all of those 100 places are one. You all worship the same beat. Your mind stretches. It's as if you can hear several layers of music on top of each other. A soft bass, a hard treble, a soothing white noise, all out of tune and beat, but yet in harmony with each other. You open your eyes and look around you. Really look, and see dancers superimposed on one another. All ages, all colors, all styles, all moods, all moving to the beat. 1, 2, 1, 2. Then, your mind goes... We have an option to select here, out, and a visual effect. Noise pierces through the fog, a new rhythm, aggressive, pounding. The sound closes over your head like a wave. You push through the crowd and stumble for the exit. Your knees buckle and you sit down on the pavement, hard. It's raining. You stare at the neon sign reflected in the puddle at your feet. Someone bends down next to you. A canopy suddenly covers your head. Hey, alles okay? Was ist denn los? A voice says. You look up at an umbrella-carrying goth with painted-on eyebrows and the biggest septum ring you've ever seen. What? You manage? Du hast dich doch total vollgekotzt, the woman says and wrinkles her nose. I mean, I don't speak German, I don't understand what she's saying. However, this visual description of her makes me think she's probably a hollow one. That's like the iconic version of a hollow one, but... Anyway, you stand on shaky legs. Something's wrong. You can't put your finger on what. You shake your head at the frowning goth and stumble into the street. The rain comes down on you like heavy needles. Around you is a forest of umbrellas. Above you, high brick buildings adorned with neon signs in German. You grasp for something familiar. You find nothing. It hits you. There are no high buildings on Nora Granges. There are no neon lights on Nora Granges. And there are no neon lights in German on Nora Granges. So, if I had to guess what's happened here, basically the character has experienced awakening, perhaps, during that little scene in the club, and what's happening now is they have used a correspondence effect to teleport themselves somewhere in Germany. Or they're looking there somehow. Someone must have spiked your beer, or you're having a psychosis. But the rain is stinging your eyes, and you taste vomit in your throat. And hallucinations aren't supposed to be this real, are they? It feels like people are staring at you like you're some kind of alien. Wait, someone says behind you in Swedish. A hand lands on your shoulder. The man is in his 30s, maybe, a little taller than you. He's dressed in baggy pants and a t-shirt, his sandy hair twisted into neat dreadlocks. You're lost, he says. I can help you. He comes closer and puts an arm around you, seemingly unbothered by the fact that the front of your hoodie is covered in vomit. He smells of sweat and musk. Do you understand where you are? Do you understand what happened? He says. You shake your head. Would you like to go back home? He asks. You nod numbly. He smiles at you and takes your hand. Let's go, then. Let me show you something. He leads you to a pair of sliding doors and into a club. It's not the one you were in just now. The music seems multi-layered, the beat off, the crowd mismatched. No one seems to notice but you. Still, holding your hand, the man weaves through the dancers into a door on the other side. It's a restroom. He pushes you into one of the stalls and locks the door behind you. Don't be afraid, he says. I'm going to do something that might seem scary. Do you trust me? You look at him. You've never met him before, but something about him inspires confidence. You nod. He reaches into a pocket and takes out a small pocket knife. He presses the blade into the side of his index finger and grunts. A small bead of blood wells up. He rubs the blood between his fingers and mutters something. Your ears pop. For just a second, it feels as if you were somewhere else, a vast open space, shapes moving in a black sky. The noise of discordant pipes replaces the pounding beat. Then the noise rushes back in and you're squeezed into a toilet stall with a stranger. He rubs the door handle and opens the door. You can hear one beat of the music rise from the others and take over. You recognize the song now. You look around you at club kids with bright hair and monochrome clothing. It's as if the world has slid back into place. We need to talk, the man says. I'm Gabriel. Come with me. So... Presumably what he just did there was try to use correspondence to teleport the pair of them back to the club. But from the description there, it also seems that he uses blood magic, so that's a bit unconventional. But it does seem like he probably would have had to use a gate to get this effect, because in order to open a door to somewhere else, you're effectively establishing a temporary gate, whereas basically what this means, this guy is probably fairly high-ranking in his magical ability. Help me, you tell him. Gabriel helps you find your anorak, then drives you and your bike back to his place. He lives not far away, in a rundown part of the Molan Quarter. A wave of Nag Champa incense hits you as he opens the door. He walks across the room, lighting the floor lamps in what turns out to be a large studio apartment with a kitchenette. The far wall is covered in bookshelves. A large bed with a colorful quilt and armchair are pushed up against the wall next to you. On the circular carpet in the middle of the room stands a little wooden table with an incense holder. The one window in the apartment is framed by thick velvet curtains. Here, Gabriel says, and hands you a soft cardigan. This will feel better than what you're wearing. You gratefully shrug out of your soiled hoodie. Why don't you sit down, he says, and waves vaguely at the armchair. It almost swallows you whole as you sink into it. Gabriel puts the kettle on. None of you speak while it comes to a boil. You try to read some of the book titles from where you're sitting. Many of the titles seem to be on religion and philosophy, interspersed with some fantasy paperbacks. You recognize names like Holdstock, Gaiman, Hand, Le Guin. You only realize you've zoned out when Gabriel speaks your name and hands you a cup of hot tea. The spices sting your nose. Gabriel sits down at your feet and looks up at you. His eyes are very blue. He's pretty in a sun-drenched, wind-swept way, with golden skin and high cheekbones and faint lines around his eyes that deepen when he smiles. Julia, he says, do you believe in magic? For a moment you're dumbfounded. Then you laugh. He puts a hand on your right knee. What do you think happened at the club? I passed out, you say, and you found me. He looks at you very intently. And where did I find you? In the street. But that street wasn't here, was it? You fumble for words. I was hallucinating, he managed. He shakes his head. No, you weren't. I was there too. No, you weren't. Do you know what it means to do magic, he asks. You say, like magic tricks? Gabriel frowns. I can tell you're a smart girl. You know better than to say something like that. Tell me then, say. Magic, he says, is to recognize the world for what it is, and then bend it to your will. Gabriel puts his other hand on your left knee. His hands are warm through the denim. Tell me what you felt before it happened. I think I was high, you start. He slaps your knee lightly. You know better, he says. Just tell me what you felt. I felt, you consider, connected. To everything, this is Gabriel talking. Like everything was one. Like everyone, everywhere was one, if that makes sense. It makes all the sense in the world, Gabriel replies. Oh, sorry, I guess that was the main character. So what did you do? I wanted to be in that place, everywhere. You realized a fundamental truth about the world, Gabriel says and squeezes your knees. Everything is connected. Distance is an illusion, and you did something with that. What do you mean, did something with that? You took yourself to another place, and probably some people with you. He chuckles. I wouldn't be surprised if there are some very confused Swedes wandering around the streets of Berlin right now. You blink. But that's terrible. Gabriel shrugs. It happens in our line of work. Our line of work? Yes, I'm a practitioner of magic, and now so are you. Gabriel's thumbs slide up along the inside of your knees, but you need some help harnessing your powers. I can do that. We have two options here. This is too crazy, or show me. We'll say show me. Why not? Okay, you say. Show me then. Right then, Gabriel pats your knees and stands up. Give me a moment. He picks the little table up and moves it to the side, leaving the center of the rug free, then heads over to the old stereo in the bookshelf. Slow, atmospheric music leaks out, that's a typo, of the loudspeakers you can't see. He lights a couple of candles in the windowsill, then turns the floor lamps off. Gabriel crosses his legs and sits down in the center of the rug, then waves you over. You sit down opposite him. He moves closer until your knees touch, then takes your hands. His fingers are dry and warm. Look into my eyes, he says, and fixes you with an unblinking stare. His eyes gleam faintly in the candlelight. He gently slides his fingers under the right sleeve on your cardigan. The touch sends a thrill up your arm. We are connected, he says in a low voice, and through us, everything is connected. Do you believe me? You nod. His other hand caresses your left forearm. My discipline is one of ecstasy, he says. It's through ecstasy that we connect to the universe. It's through ecstasy that we can bend it to our will. That's what you did tonight. He leans in closer. His breath smells of spiced tea. I would like to show you another way of doing it. Oh, man. I will not be narrating anything that's like, you know, overtly sexual or whatever. This guy, by the way, Gabriel, from his description of himself, appears to be a member of the Cult of Ecstasy, who specialize in time magic, but it's a bit strange that he is the way he is. Anyway, before you can say anything, he kisses you, and it's like an electric shock that travels straight to your belly. His eyes still stare straight into yours, and there are golden flecks in his irises. He slides his tongue in between your lips. When it touches yours, a dull ache blossoms between your legs. Oh boy, let's see. Okay. His smell surrounds you, sweat and musk, incense and tea. You find yourself wanting him desperately. When he withdraws a little, it's almost like physical pain, as if part of you is torn away. Do you see how we are connected? Gabriel whispers. Just like everywhere is connected to everywhere else. Do you know what that means? Tell me, you whisper back. It means we can go anywhere we like, but we need to be in the right state of mind to connect. Would you like me to take you somewhere? You nod. Okay. So this is something that is, I'm just gonna skip this. I'll describe this scene in brief afterwards here. Okay, actually this is not overtly graphic, it's a little bit sketchy though, whatever. I'll read it. Here we go, Gabriel whispers. Will you let me touch you? You nod again. He unzips your jeans. You let him do that, and you let him pull your panties down to caress you, first gently, then firmly. No, he says as your head tips back. Look into my eyes, don't look away. So, basically, we'll go to this line here. A hot wave rolls through you, and another, and his eyes nail you down, and all you can do is cry out, and then darkness falls. Starlight. The breeze that touches your cheek carries with it a scent of burnt sugar as if you were near a fairground. You're staring up into a sky that has too many stars. Gabriel withdraws his hand and pulls you to your feet. Impossibly, your feet touch grass. You're standing on a plain lit by starlight. Around you, grass ripples in huge waves in the night breeze. In the near distance, the dark silhouette of a hill rises out of the plain. On top of the hill stands a Ferris wheel decked in colorful lights. The sound of lamenting pipes floats through the air. Where am I, you say? Gabriel laughs. You're in the real world. Real? Of course. Did you think yours was the only one that's real? I don't get it. Gabriel points at the hill. Over there is a funeral, a carnival, a goodbye to the flesh and the world as you know it. It's coming. His scent makes you dizzy. All we have to do is let it in, he continues. What do I do, you ask? This is another one of those graphic scenes. Okay, at the very last moment before you pass out, you sense another presence, a small one, watching you intently. Okay. You're cold and sore. You find your phone and look at it. It's not quite 8 in the morning, and you have to be at Nordic Aid in a few hours. We have several options here. Okay, so we can go home and get another hour of sleep, go home and take a shower and make a sandwich, or what happened was wrong. What if you could rewind? You look at your phone. What was it you did at the bookstore? So the third option is going to invoke time magic. Thing is, a lot of time has already kind of passed since that bookstore event. Although maybe it's not going to rewind that far back. I think I'm going to pick the time option, though. So what happened was wrong. I'm going to try rewinding, got a visual effect. You go to settings on your phone. Oh. Okay. Oh, we're in quiet right now. You're standing on a plain. Above, an enormous striped sphere covers half of a deep black sky. You can feel rather than hear the grating noise of it turning on its axis. It bathes the plain in orange light. The grass below reaches to your knees. It rustles in a faint wind. The air smells of incense and rot. A lone hill rises out of the plain, silhouetted against the enormous sphere in the sky. Something like a Ferris wheel stands at the top. As you start walking toward it, you almost fall into a hole. Only it's not a hole, it's a set of stairs leading down into darkness. We can walk toward the hill or walk down the stairs. I think we'll walk toward the hill. So quiet, which is the descriptor of the scene we're in right now. Quiet is basically sort of a mage that has been disconnected from reality and is experiencing their own personal reality. And it's usually bad. So we probably got a lot of paradox from what we just tried to do going back in time. Slim, tall wooden houses stand upright in the hillside, here and there drawing aside to reveal cobbled streets spiraling up toward the top. The streets seem empty of life. You walk between narrow houses paneled in dark wood. The windows and doors look strangely flat. When you walk closer to inspect, you realize they're all painted on. You walk on through the streets that become steeper and steeper, winding around the hill in swirls and figure eights. You finally arrive at the top, a cobbled plaza where the air smells like burnt sugar. The wheel rises up before you, its gondolas swaying in the breeze. There are still no signs of life, no noise except the creak of the gondolas and the background rumble of the planet turning on its axis. So, the thing is about quiet, you're in this state where you're disconnected from reality, but you're still walking around in reality most of the time. Therefore, right now what's happening is we're in that fairgrounds that was described to us earlier when Gabriel was there, and we're seeing it differently because we're in quiet. We're also probably messing reality up from being here. We have two options here. Step into the gondola or explore the plaza. Gondola seems dangerous to me, but we're going to go for that option, I think. That might get us out of quiet. The gondolas are simple wire cages with two benches facing each other. You step onto the platform under the Ferris wheel and then into the gondola at the bottom. It sways slightly under your weight. As soon as you get inside, the wheel creaks into motion. You have to sit down to avoid falling over. The wheel turns with an infinitely slow motion. As the gondola rises, you can see more and more of the landscape around you. The plain below stretches out as far as the eye can see, flat and featureless. The striped planet above bathes in a ghostly light. Nothing moves in the town below. The only light comes from the odd little house in the middle of the plaza, where light spills out from the windows. The wheel creaks to a halt, just as you reach its highest point. You wait for a long moment for something to happen. All you can hear is the rumble of the planet above and the wind in your ears. So we have two options here. This is obviously not real, screw this, or you're not in a hurry. So rejecting quiet is a two-sided blade, because that's how you kind of break your delusion, but it's also still possible that we could get hurt because of this. Simply waiting here is probably a poor option, because it won't dispel this situation at all, unless someone else intervenes. So we're going to go with the obviously not real, screw this option. This isn't real, you're tired of this nonsense. You stand up and walk over to the opening at the other end of the gondola. The Ferris wheel stands on the edge of a drop-off. In front of you, the plane stretches out toward the horizon. The plane pulls at you. You let it, you step into the void. You fall for a long time. Your stomach contracts and releases, contracts and releases. You spin around in the air, first with feet down, then diving head first. The ground rises up toward you with infinite slowness. When you land flat on your belly, your ribs collapse, your stomach bursts open, you feel the crunch of vertebrae, tibia, fibula, ulna, your jaw shatters, there is no pain. You lie in a crater, bathing in your own entrails and blood. The grass is soft, yielding, it embraces you, pulls you down. You sink as if in quicksand. The grass fills your nose and mouth. You reflexively choke, although your lungs have already collapsed. What remains of your chest heaves as your body settles into the ground. Well, this is bad, because apparently screw this translates to jump out of it, which is like the worst thing that we could have done, but the soil closes over your head. You can do nothing but feel and listen as the ground pulls you downward. Your mouth is filled with dirt, your nose is stuffed with it, your eyes are gritty with it. Something cold and soft brushes up against you, then disappears. Soil gives way to rock, it pushes up against your ruined chest. It smells of granite and gunpowder. What is left of your bones crackle. There's a crevice just below your face. It sucks you in. You squeeze through the crack, face compressed, arms locked along your sides. Then the pressure lets up. You're in freefall once more. Water closes over your head. You come to floating on your back. You're in a cavern. Little blue lights dot the ceiling. You flail your arms. They move like they should. You swim for the shore and pull yourself up onto a rock. The cavern is quite small, perhaps 20 meters across. The ceiling is covered in a lichen that grows a gentle blue. The air smells like a room where someone has been sleeping for a long time. The shallow pool reflects the lights in the ceiling, and something else, a figure crouching across from you. It looks like a man, but his head is crowned with deer horns. He is watching you with eyes gleaming in the faint blue light. Who are you, you ask. Who do you think, he replies in a soft whisper. I don't know. You reply, good, he pauses. And who are you? Julia, you say. Are you sure? What do you mean, you say? You died, the horn man says. Death is transformation. What happens now? You ask him. You move on, he replies, as the dead do. But where? The horn man merely looks at you. You look around the cavern. There doesn't seem to be a way out. How do I get out of here, you ask. The horn man is silent. Here, he says after a while. He calmly reaches up and plucks out his left eye, then tosses across the pool to you. You catch it, and it's warm and wet in your hand. What do I do with it, you ask. As you please, he says. You put the eye in your pocket. I mean, okay, this is pretty bizarre now. I'm not exactly sure what's happening. Two options. We can approach the man or throw ourselves into the pool. Let's Approach the man. You edge around the pool toward the horned man. As you get closer, he stands up. He's short. He doesn't quite reach your shoulders. Up close, his face is very old and lined. His expression doesn't change as he grabs your shoulders and with unexpected strength tosses you into the pool. The water closes over your head. Your lungs fill with water. You refuse to panic. You merely spread your arms and fall. The concrete floor is hard. Your jaw cracks. You cough up water. Where am I? You're in a seemingly endless corridor. The opening you came through has vanished. Suddenly it hits you like a blow. You have a body. And your body is tired and hungry and thirsty. There has to be a way out of here. Start walking. You walk down the corridor for a long time. Nothing changes. You wonder if you're getting anywhere at all. The walls are featureless and smooth. Your feet make no sound. Sometimes you think you can see something moving in the distance, but whatever it is stays just out of view. We have two options. You keep walking or you eat the eyeball. In this situation, I think if we keep walking, we're just going to have more of this, so I'm going to choose eat the eyeball. You put the eyeball in your mouth and bite down on it. It bursts on your tongue in a flood of tangy saltiness. You force yourself to swallow. Is this the right thing to do? Who knows? Nothing happens. You keep walking. The thing in the distance is indeed movement. You break into a run. There's someone there, trudging down the corridor. Hey! You shout. The figure doesn't react. You get closer. It looks like a woman about your height. Hey! You say again. The other person stops. You touch her shoulder. She turns around. Your own face stares back at you. She gropes along the wall. Her nails catch on something, and she pulls. It's a door, and it opens. On the other side is your bedroom. Someone who looks like you is in the bed, eyes closed. The girl with your face takes your hand and leads you over to the bed. She pushes you down onto the mattress. The you who lies on the bed moves slightly to leave the room. You lie down next to yourself. Oh. Okay, and we're out of quiet, it seems. That was very bizarre, in many ways. Okay, what's going on right now? You go to settings on your phone. Date and time. Set time. When was it Gabriel found you last night? 3-ish? You set the time, then close your eyes and think back. Your stomach lurches as the world tilts. You abruptly throw up on yourself. Someone grabs your arm. Gabriel. Come with me, he says. Gabriel helps you find your anorak, then drives you and your bike back to his place. He lives not far away. Okay, so we're now repeating this scene here. Just going through until we get to some choice or new dialogue. We're all the way back to before we met Gabriel. I'm gonna say this is too crazy this time. I don't want to mess with Gabriel this time. I don't like the way you're touching me, you say. Please stop. Gabriel blinks and withdraws. Fair enough, he says. You stand up, forcing him to scoot back. I think I'm going home now, you say. Thanks for the tea. You don't want to know what I was going to tell you? No, you say. This is way too crazy for me. Gabriel stares at you as you put your shoes on and shrug into your anorak. You'll change your mind, he says. Probably not, you reply. He comes up to you as you open the front door. I'll see you later, he says with his face very close to yours. He smells of spices and something sickly sweet. You bike homeward through the darkness, back past the club where Muna and Nizar are just leaving. Muna waves frantically at you. We were looking for you, she says as you stop. Are you all right? What do you mean, you ask? I think you know, Nizar says. We saw what happened. Saw what happened? Another typo, I assume. You say. The siblings look at you like you're an idiot. We saw you go elsewhere, and we saw you leave with that man. He's not a good person, Nizar says. You need to stay away from him. And look, so I did, you reply. Why are you so concerned? Because something happened, and there are some things you need to know. We can't talk like this, Muna says. Do you live near here? You pause to consider. Muna and Nizar look genuinely concerned, and you're cold and shaky and confused. Sure, you say eventually. Come with me. Your tiny living room feels a bit crowded with the three of you, but not oppressive. The siblings seem at ease, not like strangers. Nizar sits down on your old sofa while Muna checks out your bookcase. You realize that you should probably offer them something. Would you like some tea? Anything to eat? They nod. But, Muna says, you might want to change into another sweater. You look down at your ruined hoodie. You stink. I'm sorry, you say. This is disgusting. It happens, Nizar says. You excuse yourself and head for the bathroom to wash up and change into another sweater. When you come back out, a fragrant wave hits you in the face. Muna is in the kitchen. She has found the mint leaves in your fridge and made tea. She offers you a glass full of crushed mint leaves and hot water. I hope you don't mind, she says. I thought that you might need it. The tea tastes both minty and spicy, with a soft dash of sugar. It soothes away the taste of bile in your throat. When you're all seated in the living room, Muna and Nizar on the couch, you on a chair, Nizar says, Do you understand what happened at the club? You shake your head. You did something big, Muna says, something quite drastic. We saw it happen, Nizar says. You look at them. Perhaps it happened after all. I don't know what happened. I was dancing, and then I was somewhere else. What did you feel in that moment? Muna asks. Like, you grasp for words, like everything was one. You laugh feebly. But I think I was high. Siblings look at each other. No, Muna says. You woke up. Julia, Nizar says, you transported yourself somewhere else. Not just you, but a lot of people. We had to fix it, but we understand that you didn't do it on purpose. How do you know, you ask? How do you know it was me? Because we've been looking for you, ever since you helped us, Nizar says. You shake your head. What, helping Muna find a new pair of jeans? I don't get it. Muna laughs a little. No, not that. You helped us cross the ocean. You haven't yet, Nizar fills in, but you will, so we're here to help you get there. Muna puts her glass down and looks at you in the eye. Do you believe in magic, Julia? I believe I've seen some really weird things tonight, you say, but it might as well just be me going insane. If you were going insane, we wouldn't be sitting here, Muna says. We saw what you did. We were there. Muna and I, Nizar says, are part of a very old tradition. Wait, you say. What do you do exactly? I'm an English teacher, Muna says with a grin, and he's an IT specialist. But we also deal in what you would call magic. She pronounces it with a sharp K at the end. They both look at you, as if waiting for a reaction. Then Muna says, Has anything odd happened to you lately? You think back. There's that afternoon at Nordic Aid you can't explain, then that blog post you apparently wrote in your sleep, and then tonight, a street somewhere else, people talking to you in German, Gabriel. You tell Muna and Nizar about them. They nod and exchange glances as they listen. You will need guidance, Muna says. We can help you. That's what we're here for. You've already understood the most important thing. All things are one. That's what we believe. Our tradition would say you are connected with God, and when you have done that, there's no going back. So, my most likely thing with Nizar and Muna, if they're part of the same tradition, and they're part of the tradition I think they're part of, they are what's called Ali Batin, which is like Arab Muslim correspondence specialists, so they specialize in teleportation, and they also are, you know, very religious. But it's also possible that they're celestial croisters, which is a different kind of tradition, in which case they specialize in magic that I don't know if is even going to make sense in the context of this VN. I'm not sure how they would explain it. This is all a bit crazy, you say. Perhaps, Nizar says. It's true nevertheless. You say I helped you. You will, Muna says, very soon. We owe you, that's why we're helping you now. You had forgotten about the tea in your glass. You drain it. Help me understand. Nizar leans forward. We were getting into a boat to go across from Turkey to Lesbos, he says. There were 2 boats. Then you showed up next to us. You were crying. You said, please get into the other boat. Please get into the other boat. So we did. Nizar frowns and pinches the bridge of his nose. His chin trembles a little. There was a storm. The other boat sank. We would have been on that other boat if it wasn't for you. But we're not sure. Nizar looks at his sister. We're not sure if that happens unless we help you. So here we are. Helping you help us. Helping you come into your own. And, how, you ask? by teaching you how to use your power, so that what happened tonight won't happen again. Magic, Nizar says, is to push at reality, to bend it to your will. But you must be subtle, otherwise reality will push back. I may not have noticed yet, Muna says, but you might. Maybe you'll see things or hear things. If you're very unlucky, you might fall through this realm and be caught somewhere else. Hopefully it won't come to that. Yeah, we were in a quiet. That's what that was. You seem to be good at moving yourself and your mind in time and space. Maybe also affects others' minds. These are powerful gifts, not something you use just for fun. So, our primary character here, our player character, Julia, I believe she specializes primarily in correspondence and also time, and other than that, they're suggesting mind, but we haven't seen any evidence of that, at least not that I've seen so far. I get that, you say, do you? Muna yawns. It's late. I think maybe we need some sleep. So, again, we could do magic to rewind. We have 3 options here. Want to stay over? Yeah, I'll see you later. Or, I wish I could rewind. I don't see any reason to rewind, because the options that we would have would be Gabriel or Nizar and Muna. And Gabriel seems pretty sketchy to me, frankly. He says he heavily implies he's part of the cult of ecstasy. I don't know, he seems a little bit aggressive for that, frankly. Anyway, for this, I think I'll say, yeah, I'll see you later. Right, you say. Can you find your way back on your own? Nizar pulls out his phone. Just show me where it is on the map. As they leave, Muna turns to you. We'll see you tomorrow, right? You nod. Right. You go to bed with a faint twinge of regret. Maybe you should have let them stay. The shelter is noisy and cold. Too late now. No, I don't particularly trust Muna and Nizar either. Okay, day 3, Saturday. I'm gonna go ahead and call this an episode, and we'll pick up next time with day 3, Saturday.